Aretha Franklin was more than just the Queen of Soul. She was a cultural icon whose powerful voice and trailblazing career left an indelible mark on music history. From gospel roots to global superstardom, Franklin's journey was filled with triumphs, struggles, and personal hardships. Behind the glamorous stage performances and record-breaking hits, she battled family tragedies, industry challenges, and health struggles that shaped her remarkable life. This is the heartbreaking true story of Aretha Franklin, the woman whose voice defined generations, but whose personal battles remained largely unseen. Aretha Franklin was born on March 25, 1942, in Memphis, Tennessee, as the third of four children to Barbara Siggers Franklin and Clarence LaVaughn Franklin. Her father, known as C.L. Franklin, was a preacher who initially lived in Memphis before moving to Shelby, Mississippi, in search of a larger congregation. In early 1946, shortly before Aretha turned 4, the family relocated to Detroit, Michigan, where they settled permanently. That same year, C.L. Franklin established his own church, the New Bethel Baptist Church. When Aretha was 6 years old, her parents separated due to ongoing marital conflicts. Her mother, Barbara, took her son and moved back to Buffalo, New York, where she worked as a nurse. That summer, Aretha and her siblings traveled to Buffalo to visit their mother. Tragically, on March 7, 1952, Barbara passed away just weeks before Aretha's 10th birthday. C.L. Franklin did not attend his ex-wife's funeral, though it remains unclear whether this was due to personal choice or other circumstances. Following her mother's death, Aretha began singing in her father's church, where C.L. Franklin gained a reputation as a respected preacher and choir master. As a result, their home in Detroit became a gathering place for notable gospel musicians, including Mahalia Jackson, Clara Ward, and James Cleveland, who would go on to influence Aretha's vocal style. Around this time, she also started playing the piano. C.L. Franklin was known for his permissive parenting, allowing Aretha to explore a variety of music genres, including R&B, blues, and jazz. By the mid-1950s, C.L. Franklin had begun recording for JVB Records, and in 1956, Aretha started performing professionally during church services. That same year, with her father's support, she signed a contract with JVB and recorded her debut album, Songs of Faith, a gospel record. However, by the time she turned 18, Aretha decided to shift her focus to secular music. Her father took on the role of her manager, assisting her in recording demos and sending her to New York for auditions with RCA and Columbia Records. At one point, Motown expressed interest in signing Aretha and her sister Irma Franklin, but C.L. Franklin declined, believing that the label was not yet influential enough to properly promote them. In the end, Aretha chose to sign with Columbia after a competitive bidding war between RCA and Columbia. After hearing Aretha Franklin's demo recordings, John Hammond, a prominent producer at Columbia Records, recognized her immense potential, believing she could be the greatest vocalist since Billie Holiday. His enthusiasm led Columbia to sign her, ending a competitive bidding war with RCA Records. At just 18 years old, Aretha was stepping into the major label music industry, a pivotal moment that marked the beginning of her professional career. In September 1960, Columbia released her first commercial single, Today I Sing the Blues. The song resonated with R&B audiences, reaching number 1, 10 on the Billboard R&B chart, signaling her arrival as a serious recording artist. Encouraged by this success, Columbia wasted no time in producing her debut album. In January 1961, her self-titled album, Aretha, was released, showcasing her ability to navigate different genres, blending jazz, blues, and pop influences with her deep gospel roots. Later that year, she gained further recognition with the release of Won't Be Long, an upbeat track that became her second charting hit. The song climbed to number 1, 7 on the R&B charts, and broke into the mainstream, reaching number 1, 76 on the Billboard Hot 100. This early success suggested that Aretha was on the brink of stardom, but Columbia struggled to define her musical direction, positioning her more as a jazz and pop singer rather than embracing her raw gospel-infused R&B style. Columbia continued to release new material, hoping to break Aretha into the mainstream. In 1961, she scored another top 10 R&B hit with Operation Heartbreak, which reached number 6 on the R&B charts. However, it was Rockabye Your Baby with a Dixie Melody that became her first true crossover success. The song, originally a 1918 standard, showcased her vocal versatility and peaked at number 37 on the Billboard Hot 100, marking her first top 40 pop hit. Around this time, Aretha's personal life also underwent a significant change. She married Ted White, a businessman and songwriter, in 1961. Soon after, White took on the role of her manager, exerting increasing influence over her career and personal decisions. Despite her initial promise, Aretha's commercial momentum stalled between 1962 and 1966. While Columbia continued to release albums and singles, none achieved the widespread success the label had hoped for. Her music was well received by critics, and her vocal prowess was undeniable, yet she failed to land a major top 10 hit during this period. Part of the struggle stemmed from Columbia's reluctance to fully embrace her gospel-influenced, soulful singing style, instead steering her toward more polished jazz, blues, and easy-listening arrangements. While these recordings highlighted her vocal range, they did not capture the emotional rawness that would later define her as the Queen of Soul. In 1964, despite her lack of chart dominance, Aretha was already earning respect from industry insiders. That year, Chicago radio DJ Purvis Spann famously crowned her the new Queen of Soul, recognizing her unmatched vocal ability and growing influence in the R&B world. The title caught on, with newspapers and critics echoing the sentiment, solidifying her reputation even before she had a true breakout hit. By the mid-1960s, Aretha began to feel creatively stifled under Columbia's direction. Her final single with the label, Cry Like a Baby, was released in 1966, marking the end of her contract. While Columbia had helped her develop as an artist, she knew that a change was necessary to reach the heights of success she aspired to. In 1967, she made a bold career move by signing with Atlantic Records, a label known for nurturing raw, emotionally charged soul music. This decision would prove to be the turning point that launched her into superstardom. In November 1966, after 6 years with Columbia Records, Aretha Franklin made a bold career move by signing with Atlantic Records, a decision that would prove to be the turning point in her journey to becoming the Queen of Soul. At Columbia, she had struggled to find her true musical identity, often being guided toward jazz and pop rather than the gospel-infused R&B that best showcased her raw vocal power. But at Atlantic, under the leadership of Jerry Wexler, she was finally given the freedom to embrace the full depth of her gospel, blues, and soul influences. Wexler, who had a reputation for working with artists like Ray Charles and Wilson Pickett, understood Aretha's potential in ways Columbia never had. He was determined to bring out the electrifying, deeply expressive singer hidden beneath the polished arrangements of her early career. Shortly after signing with the label, Wexler took Aretha and her husband-manager Ted White to Muscle Shoals, Alabama, home to the legendary FAME Studios. This small but influential recording studio had become known for its gritty, deeply authentic Southern soul sound. Powered by the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section, a group of white session musicians whose playing was steeped in blues, gospel, and R&B traditions. Aretha's first session with them resulted in I Never Loved a Man, The Way I Love You, a slow-burning, emotionally charged ballad that allowed her voice to take center stage. It was the first time she had been given complete artistic control. She played piano, dictated the arrangement, and let her voice soar with an intensity that had never been fully captured in a studio setting before. However, the historic recording session was cut short due to a heated altercation involving Ted White. Accounts vary, but tensions reportedly arose when White felt disrespected by a Fame executive, leading to a confrontation that forced Wexler to step in. The incident escalated to the point where Aretha and White abruptly left Muscle Shoals, never completing the session there. Wexler, determined to salvage the project, arranged for the rest of the album to be finished at Atlantic's New York studios, with the Muscle Shoals musicians being flown in to continue working with Aretha. Despite the rocky start, I Never Loved a Man, The Way I Love You, was released in early 1967 and became an instant hit, reaching number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart and number 9 on the Hot 100. This was Aretha's first major crossover success, proving that Atlantic had found the right formula for her. Her true breakthrough came just a few months later with the release of Respect in April 1967. Originally written and recorded by Otis Redding, the song had a very different meaning in its original form, a plea from a man asking for respect from his woman when he comes home. Aretha, however, reimagined it entirely, with her fierce commanding delivery and the addition of the now iconic R-E-S-P-E-C-T spelling breakdown. She transformed the song into an anthem for female empowerment and racial equality. Backed by a driving horn section, gospel-infused harmonies from her sisters Irma and Carolyn Franklin, and an unshakable groove, Aretha's version of Respect captured the spirit of the civil rights and women's liberation movements like no other song at the time. The impact was immediate and undeniable. Respect shot to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making it her first chart-topping pop hit. It also reached number 1 on the R&B chart, solidifying her dominance in the genre. Internationally, the song was a major success as well, reaching number 1, 2 in Canada, number 7 in Italy, and number 10 in the United Kingdom. Aretha Franklin's time with Atlantic Records marked the peak of her career, as both her albums and singles dominated the charts and received widespread critical acclaim. Her 1967 album, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, was a defining moment, peaking at number 1, 2 on the Billboard 200, making it her highest charting album at the time. This success was a major leap from her years at Columbia Records, where most of her albums had struggled to break into the top 50. Moreover, the album topped the Billboard Hot R&B Hip-Hop Albums chart, establishing her as a powerhouse in R&B music. This marked the beginning of an uninterrupted streak of successful albums that would keep Aretha at the forefront of the industry. Following the success of I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, Aretha continued to build on her momentum with a string of critically and commercially successful albums. In 1967, she released Aretha Arrives, which peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200 and further solidified her presence in the mainstream music industry. The following year, she reached new heights with 2 back-to-back albums that became defining works of her career. Lady Soul, 1968, which climbed to number 1, 2, and Aretha Now, 1968, which reached number 1, 3. These albums featured some of her most iconic songs, including You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, Chain of Fools, Think, and I Say a Little Prayer. At the same time, between 1967 and early 1968, Aretha dominated the singles charts, scoring a series of top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. Many of these songs also found success internationally, particularly in Canada and the United Kingdom, where her influence continued to grow. With her powerful voice, emotional depth, and ability to infuse gospel influences into contemporary soul and R&B, she had revolutionized modern music. Her dominance extended beyond the charts. Between 1968 and 1975, Aretha Franklin established herself as an undisputed Grammy-winning artist, taking home 10 prestigious Grammy Awards during this period. She made history in 1968 when Respect won her 2 Grammy Awards, Best R&B Recording and Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. This was only the beginning. From 1969 to 1975, she won the Best Female R&B Vocal Performance category 6 years in a row, an unprecedented achievement. Some of the award-winning songs from this era included Chain of Fools, 1969, Share Your Love With Me, 1970, Don't Play That Song, You Lied, 1971, Bridge Over Troubled Water, 1972, and Young, Gifted, and Black, 1973. In addition to dominating R&B, Aretha also made her mark in gospel music, a genre deeply connected to her roots. In 1972, she recorded Amazing Grace, a live gospel album that showcased her ability to blend spiritual depth with soul power. The album, recorded at the New Temple Missionary Baptist Church in Los Angeles, was a critical and commercial triumph, becoming the best-selling gospel album of all time. The project not only reconnected Aretha with her church upbringing, but also introduced her gospel artistry to a mainstream audience. Her work in gospel earned her another Grammy Award in 1974 for Best Soul Gospel Performance. During this time, Aretha also expanded her artistic collaborations. She worked with Stevie Wonder, who wrote and produced songs for her, helping to evolve her sound while keeping her music fresh and relevant. Throughout this period, she remained a dominant force in the music industry, with her voice serving as a symbol of empowerment and artistic excellence. However, as the late 1970s approached, Aretha's commercial dominance began to wane. The music industry was shifting, with the rise of disco and funk, and radio airplay became increasingly competitive. While she remained a respected legend, her album sales and chart success gradually declined compared to the peak years of the late 1960s and early 1970s. Recognizing the need for a fresh start, Aretha made a major career move. After 12 years with Atlantic Records, she chose to part ways with the label in 1979, closing the chapter on what had been the most successful era of her career. In 1980, after parting ways with Atlantic Records, Aretha Franklin embarked on a new chapter in her career by signing with Clive Davis's Arista Records. Under Davis's guidance, she sought to modernize her sound and remain relevant in an evolving musical landscape dominated by pop, R&B, and emerging electronic production techniques. However, despite her status as an icon, her early releases with Arista did not achieve the same widespread success as her groundbreaking work at Atlantic. While critically respected, her albums struggled to break into the top 10 of the Billboard 200. Her most significant commercial breakthrough with Arista came in 1985 with the release of Who's Zoomin' Who, which became her highest charting album for the label, peaking at number 1, 13 on the Billboard 200. The album also performed well internationally, reaching number 49 in the UK, making it her most successful Arista release there. The project introduced Aretha to a new generation of listeners, blending contemporary pop, dance and R&B sounds with her signature soulful voice. It spawned two top 10 singles on the Billboard Hot 100, Freeway of Love, which climbed to number 3, and Who's Zoomin' Who, which peaked at number 7. The album was certified gold in the US, platinum in Canada, and silver in the UK, reaffirming Aretha's ability to adapt to changing musical trends and remain relevant in the industry. Building on this success, Aretha released another self-titled album in 1986, which also performed well commercially and was certified gold in the US. However, it was her duet with George Michael, I Knew You Were Waiting for Me, that truly stood out. Released in 1987, the song became an international sensation, topping the Billboard Hot 100 and marking Aretha's second #1 hit on the chart. Unlike her previous chart-topping classic, Respect, which was a defining anthem of the 1960s, I Knew You Were Waiting appealed to a more contemporary audience and became an even bigger success in the UK and Australia, where it also reached #1. The song's crossover appeal, blending soul with pop influences, allowed Aretha to once again dominate the charts 2 decades after her initial breakthrough. Following the success of the 1980s, Aretha took a step back from the spotlight, releasing music less frequently in the 1990s. After a quiet period, she made a major comeback in 1998 with the release of her 36th studio album, A Rose is Still a Rose. The album, which blended R&B, hip-hop, and neo-soul influences, introduced her to yet another new generation of fans. It became one of her best-selling albums of the decade, fueled by the success of its title track, A Rose is Still a Rose, which was a hit on both R&B and pop charts. The album's success earned Aretha 2 Grammy Award nominations, Best R&B Album and Best R&B Song for the title track. During her tenure at Arista Records, Aretha Franklin continued to earn recognition for her exceptional vocal talent, winning 5 more Grammy Awards across multiple categories. She secured 3 additional wins for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance, a category she had dominated throughout her career. These awards were for Hold On, I'm Comin' in 1982, Freeway of Love in 1986, and her self-titled album Aretha in 1988. In addition to her solo achievements, Aretha also won a Grammy for Best R&B Performance by a duo or group in 1988 for I Knew You Were Waiting for Me, her smash hit duet with George Michael. The collaboration, which topped the Billboard Hot 100, marked one of the most commercially successful moments of her later career, demonstrating her ability to connect with contemporary audiences. Further showcasing her versatility, she was awarded the Best Female Gospel Vocal Performance, Grammy in 1989, for her gospel album, One Lord, One Faith, One Baptism, a project that reinforced her deep-rooted connection to church music and her gospel upbringing. Aretha's impact extended far beyond album sales and chart positions. Her contributions to music were formally recognized with 2 of the most prestigious honors in the recording industry. In 1991, she was presented with the Grammy Legend Award, a rare accolade reserved for artists who have made an enduring impact on music history. A few years later, in 1994, she received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, acknowledging her extraordinary influence and legacy over multiple decades. By the early 2000s, Aretha was widely regarded as a living legend, and her status was celebrated in a star-studded tribute concert. In 2001, VH1 produced VH1 Divas, Live the One and Only, Aretha Franklin, a special event held at Radio City Music Hall in New York City. The concert featured an array of superstar performers, including Mary J. Blige, Janet Jackson, and Stevie Wonder, all paying tribute to Aretha's unparalleled legacy. The event was broadcast live and later released on DVD, with a companion CD compilation of her live performances capturing the energy and emotion of the evening. Aretha Franklin's final album with Arista Records, So Damn Happy, was released in 2003, marking the end of her long and successful partnership with the label. The album's standout single, Wonderful, earned her 16th Grammy Award for Best Traditional R&B Vocal Performance in 2004, reinforcing her ability to remain relevant in contemporary music despite the shifting industry landscape. Continuing to receive critical acclaim, Aretha's performance of A House Is Not a Home in 2006 earned her yet another Grammy Award in the same category, further highlighting her enduring vocal excellence. The following year, in 2007, she collaborated with Mary J. Blige on the gospel-influenced song Never Gonna Break My Faith. The duet, which carried a powerful message of perseverance and faith, won a Grammy for Best Gospel Performance, bringing her total Grammy count to 18 awards. Beyond the recording studio, Aretha continued to make historic live performances. One of the most significant moments of her later career came in 2009 when she performed My Country, 'Tis of Thee at the inauguration of U.S. President Barack Obama. Her soulful and moving rendition of the patriotic song, paired with her now iconic gray felt hat adorned with a large bejeweled bow, became one of the most memorable moments of the ceremony. It was a testament to her enduring influence in American culture as she stood before the world during a pivotal moment in U.S. history. Despite decades in the industry, Aretha remained active, continuing to release music that introduced her voice to new generations of listeners. In 2014, she released Aretha Franklin Sings the Great Diva Classics, a collection of covers that paid tribute to legendary female vocalists. The album featured reinterpretations of modern hits, including Rolling in the Deep by Adele and I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, blending her signature soulful delivery with contemporary production. The project was a reminder that, even in her 70s, Aretha could still command attention with her unmatched vocal presence. Her commitment to live performances also remained strong. On July 4, 2009, she took the stage for a Capitol 4th, 2009, the annual Independence Day celebration in Washington, D.C., delivering yet another electrifying performance. On August 13, 2018, reports emerged that Aretha Franklin was in critical condition at her home near Detroit, surrounded by her family and close friends. As her health declined, she entered hospice care, with loved ones staying by her side during her final days. Among those who visited to offer their support were longtime friend and civil rights activist Jesse Jackson and music legend Stevie Wonder, both of whom had been part of her life and career for decades. On August 16, 2018, Aretha Franklin passed away at her Detroit residence at the age of 76. The official cause of death was metastatic pancreatic cancer, a condition she had been battling privately. Aretha Franklin's legacy is one of resilience, strength, and unmatched talent. She broke barriers, redefined music, and used her platform to fight for justice and equality. But behind the success was a life filled with personal struggles, loss, and health battles that ultimately led to her tragic passing. Despite it all, her music continues to inspire and uplift, proving that legends never truly fade. What are your favorite memories of Aretha Franklin? Let us know in the comments, and if you love deep dives into the lives of music icons, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out more stories of the artists who changed history.